Well, welcome everyone to exploring the art of work-life integration. I'm Danielle Bauer. I'm the Executive Vice President at the CLA. We have a great speaker with us today. Before we get started, though, for anyone who is new to our programs, we always like to share what the goal is of the Women's Laundry Network. So it was founded as an effort to connect, collaborate, and empower women in the vended laundry industry. And it's a space for support, resources, leadership, and inspiration. So what that really means is most of our programming, again, is more about empowering women, leadership skills, not so much the operations of a laundromat. CLA certainly does have that kind of programming as well. Once a month, we do hold webinars that are more about, wash, dry, folds and managing a team. What we try to do with the women's, though, is that we're the one thing we all have in common is we're women in this industry. And so offering content that can benefit us as women leaders. So one thing that I would ask in the chat, just so you can kind of get to know who's on this with you, because we do this on Zoom meetings, not webinar, because we do like for you to participate. And Jill can kind of lead us how she wants that to happen, if she's going to share and then open it up. But to get started, if you can put your name, what your business name and the location you are from in the chat, so we can kind of see who's on today. So our presenter today, oh, sorry, there we go. Sorry, is Jill, and Jill, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, Yashinsky-Wortoman. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So Jill is with, she started her own company, Momentum Coaching and Consulting. So I have some points here, a little bit about her background. She has a bachelor's in communications and a master's in organizational leadership. She's certified in appreciative inquiry. She's a professional certified coach, trained as a plain big facilitator, and starting this fall, she's going to be an instructor of Gonzaga's Certificate of Foundation Leadership. So lots of credentials, great speaker. Jill, I am going to now turn it over to you. So let me stop my sharing. Let's see. Let's see. Can you try, because I allowed other people to share, can you try going on and sharing your screen?
I tried it, but when I'm trying to share, it's telling me that I can't start a screen share while the other participant is sharing. So I might.
See.
I know it's the joys of all this technology. Somebody was telling me yesterday, they texted me and they said, my daughter just managed to FaceTime you and she's 1.5. I'm not sure how she got into my phone. I'm like, isn't that the truth, right? That like these tiny little people get in there so fast and we're like, I'm not keeping up.
All right. Let's see.
So here's what I love while Danielle is doing this. I have my Olympic gear on today. I was telling Danielle I was watching US women's soccer. They're playing right now. I'm a former soccer player and still a coach. And so I'm like at the same time. But I would love to know in the chat, and if you're with us and you can hear us, if you can jump in, what Olympic sport would you be awesome at? Like, what's the one you would take on from Summer or Winter Olympics? You pick, but like, what is the sport that you would be like, yes, this is mine?
There we go. I stopped sharing. That should work.
No worries. I gotta make sure I can see the chat. What's starting to pop up? Catherine's a swimmer. Yes. Yes. Catherine, pool or ocean? Are you open water? Are you in lakes? Or is this like I'm doing my laps? Pool. Okay, great. I would want to be a surfer. That would be my like wannabe sport. I did a little bit of it when I lived abroad, but like I mean, a little bit of it's like I got up on a board for about 3 seconds and was like, yeah, I've done it. And now I'm done. It's good. You used to do gymnastics, Danielle. What was your favorite event? What did you love?
Floor.
Floor. Yeah. My kids are asking about it. They're like, how does that floor bounce so much? I'm like, it's got springs under it, y'all. They were very excited.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm clumsy on a good day. Amen. Also that. Oh my gosh, your son trains with the pommel horse guy. How cool. That's like a 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon moment.
Yeah, so they train at Evo. They're the senior guys. Mine's a junior guy, but he's in the developmental program that goes with the senior guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he trains in the same group as him. And so Sam McCulloch is the coach that you saw when he was doing the pommels. That was Sam McCulloch, former 3-time Olympian. That's my son's direct coach. So yeah, so like today they're on, I mean, they're so we're doing a huge, woo, at
Oh,
the airport.
cool. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that so much. Oh, awesome for your son too. Hopefully, like keep everyone updated if we can all cheer him on there someday.
Someday, you don't know. He's a senior this year.
Okay.
He's
That's
getting recruited by
awesome.
Air Force, so we'll see.
Okay. The triathlon, all the things. Okay. Have you done them before?
I did in my 20s and early 30s, that was like a couple lifetimes ago, when the joints were lubricated and, you had time to train and eat right and sleep right. I mean, it was like more than a part-time job, but yeah, not able to now. Just want to be healthy and fit and have
Yeah.
fun.
Oh my gosh. How cool. That's awesome. I love it. Anybody else want to jump in? What's their Olympic sport or the one that they'd really want to be good at? I know some people might be listening and doing all the things too, because that is also life. Know that this is a space. If this is falling during the time of day when you are eating or doing all the things, jump in. Oh my gosh, Raina, want to be good at golf. Ugh. I got stories from working at a golf course over a summer, and it is the sport I least want to be good at anymore. I don't want to spend any more time there ever. Awesome. I love that you love it, though. It's such a hard sport for me. So well done. Well, welcome everyone. Danielle gave me that intro, which is like very credential heavy. And if you saw me on a good day this morning, you would have seen me like rolling a mobile chicken coop off my lawn over to a different place. I'm a chicken farmer. I'm a mom. I just sent my kids upstairs on their tablets and trying not to feel guilty, right? That they're all on screen time so I can hang out with all y'all. Mary, welcome. Way to get in and get connected. Thank you. Um, but yeah, like those credentials are some things, but really I'm a mom who's running her own business and has kids and coaches soccer. And apparently I said I would teach a class at a university this year. I don't know. Right. And said like, oh, okay, let's talk about work-life integration or work-life balance. So when you hear like work-life integration, what were you thinking when you heard, oh, this is the thing they're going to talk about? What came up for you? You can drop in the chat or come off mute. Either way is great.
I would say balance.
Balance, yeah. And seeing nods too. Yeah. Mary says balance as well. Yeah. What does that mean? If you think about like work-life balance, what comes up? We're gonna juggling family life and career life. 1,000%. What else?
Trying, which is impossible, but trying to kind of make everyone happy. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you feel like if you're focused on your family, your work suffers. And if you're focused on work, your family suffers. So in whatever way possible, trying to please everyone without stressing yourself out too much.
Right, right. And yeah, Catherine just jumped in. What Danielle said. Yes. And by the way, like, let's please everyone else, but we're paying no attention to ourselves, right? We're doing everything for everyone else. Mary, a healthy amount of time on priorities. Yeah. Trying to get that flow so you can be efficient, you can be happy, successful. Yeah. Focus on yourself and your needs. Vicarina, I hope I said your name right. Beautiful name. Yeah, but just trying to flexibility. Janelle said, yeah, like how do we do all of the things and be all of the things for all of the people? Oh, and take care of ourselves and all of it, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And really where I want to start is almost this myth of work-life balance. Like I love all these peaceful pictures. That's not what my work-life balance looks like, y'all, or my work-life integration, right? And I'm seeing Raina laugh like, oh, yeah. If it does, like, awesome. Teach us your ways. You can teach the next webinar. But yeah, like it often doesn't look like this. Like it's a myth that you all just put it in the chat, all the different things that we're trying to do and take care of and tend to. And one of the stories I share about this is prior to becoming a coach about 6 years ago, I worked in higher education and I did trauma response and crisis response. So I did some pretty heavy stuff. I had the kind of job that when people said, what do you do? And I told them, they were like, ugh, right? And so I was burned out. I was tired. I had been on call and we had our first kiddo at that point. And I remember saying, I'm not sure that I want to do this job anymore. Like it might be time to do something else. And so I used our employee assistance program and went to see a counselor because I was like, I need somebody else as a neutral sounding board. And she said, okay, make a pro-con list. And I was like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, pro-con list, like, okay, well, there's 6 on this side and 3 on this side. Like, let's see. And when I got back at the next session, she said, here's the thing. Now we're going to put importance on them. So give each side 100%. And of all the pros, which one gets the most weight? Which thing is most important? That's really what I want to talk about today as we get into that, because it's not just balance. Balance doesn't look like there's a little bit of this thing and I have everything in equal parts. It's what are our priorities? What are the things that are really important? Here's why this is important for women. And I'm not saying anything I think you all don't already know, but we'll just put it out there. If you look at the Women in the Workplace study, which is a study that's published by, I think, Kinsey every year. And what they talk about is, I love this, right? 1 in 3 women spend 5 or more hours a day on housework and caregiving. So if we do 5 times 7, I was a communications major, so I'm not going to tell you I'm good at math, but right, that 35 hours a week, that's almost another full-time job that we do, doing all of the other things that it takes to make all the things happen. Here's how it also shows up in the workplace. Women consistently in the workplace, they're 60% more likely to be doing emotional support to other people, to checking in on what are their workloads, how can I help you manage that, what kind of support do you need, what's going on outside of work, right? Because we know ourselves nor our employees come to work and like everything's in cute little boxes and they stay. Like that's not how it works. 60% more likely to focus on emotional support, which is awesome for employees because when that happens, it means that they're less likely to burn out. They're more happy in their job, they're more satisfied. And guess who's getting burnt out in providing all that emotional support to everyone in the workplace too? It's women. Yeah. So I want to put that out there because we know it, but the research also supports it. It's there saying these are the things that happen for us. And so once we're past our like spa versions of balance, we can talk about how balance or integration looks different for everyone, right? We all have our different tolerances for how much chaos, what that looks like, which areas we can handle, saying like, okay, I can let that one, I can have a little less control or order in that one so I can be here. I can let my house be messier so that I can just be present with my people. Whatever it looks like, we each do that a little differently. And that's where we talk about kind of that weighted pro-con list, right? That became very clear to me that I wanted my emotional well-being to be really important so that I could be great for my family, as opposed to working and sacrificing that and working the way I was, that didn't allow me to show up the way I wanted to. So that's what we're going to talk about as we go through this is how do we look at the different places in our lives to see where we can create the right amount of balance or the right amount of attention that helps you really show up the way you want in the places you prioritize the most. And in those ones where we have to show up, where we don't really want to prioritize them, what changes can we make? How can we alter things a little bit to get ourselves to a place where it feels like we've got better integration across the board? So let's talk for a second about integration. So think about all the things that take up space and time. And often I think about when I'm working with this with clients, it's what have you spent your time on? If you thought back to your calendar, what did you spend your time on the last week? Or what did you spend your money on? right? Those are statements of what's important to us a lot of times. But if you think back to that, what are you noticing about how integrated or how in balance you might feel right now? And as you think about that, if you could wave your magic wand, we have no shoulds, we have no obligations. We just get to wave our magic wands and say, here's what I want my ideal integration to look like. What would you create? Think about that for a second. And if you want to come off mute and share, if you want to put it in the chat, what would that ideal look like?
Well, I can start. I would say it's not that I feel like I don't spend time in different areas, but I feel like I'm always rushing from one to the other, and I would like to be more engaged with each thing I'm doing. Like I do go to the gym, I do work, I do have kids, but sometimes it's like you're at the gym quickly to leave because you got to get home to do this. And so I guess ideally it would be nice to take a breath and enjoy each thing you're doing and not think about, oh my God, I gotta hurry because I gotta be here now. That would be mine.
Yeah, right. The like female capacity to multitask is one of our like greatest and most challenging things, because you're at the gym already thinking about where do I need to get to next and what's for dinner and what, Yeah, if y'all could see, you can't see, and this is why I won't turn my camera on. If you could see, all the laundry for the house is on the other side of this room right now, right? Because that's how things are here too. Yeah. What else for people would they like wave their magic wand and create? I'm gonna assume we're thinking really, really hard. Ooh. Oh, Catherine, what a beautiful, right? I feel guilty doing things for myself. Yeah. How, like anybody else, I'm seeing nods with the people who are on screen. Yeah, that like taking time for ourselves. Yeah, like, oh my gosh, if I do this, if I take time for myself, if I get in the pool, if I do this, I'm taking away from somebody else, right? Um, I shared with my clients this year, one of the things I do not like working. I don't like it. I don't hate it, in fact. And I had tried for years to be accountable to myself, and I would just beat myself up about like, you just need to be more disciplined. You need to be this. Finally, I was like, I'm done. I'm hiring a trainer. So now I beat myself up, not about the time I spend with the trainer. Beat myself up about the amount of money I spend on the trainer, because I'm like, I could fund a Roth with that amount of money in a year. And then I have to do mental gymnastics to go, guess what? If I don't live long enough to ever cash the Roth in, it doesn't really matter, does it? Or if my quality of life isn't great then. But yeah, like that's such a one a female thing. But a mom thing too, right? We're like beating ourselves up for like all the things. Oh, Leah, you said more time for nature. What does nature give you?
Everything.
Everything. Yeah. For some of us, like that's the place that centers us. Yeah. Amanda, focus on time over money. Ooh, Amanda, is that personally, professionally, both? Oh, yeah. Yes. The answer is yes. Absolutely.
You can't
Absolutely.
get time back, but you can always make more money.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard, right? Because then you're like, okay, I should be doing that. Then the shoulds come in, which shoulds are almost always like shame or guilt or blame. When somebody says they should do something, there's usually a judgment that is behind that. Absolutely. Oh, Catherine asking for help. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, Amanda, I'll pay someone to clean. Yeah. Similar, right? This year I was like, okay, if I'm going to coach soccer and do all this, then we're going to get meals delivered. But that was also a point of like privilege and rebudgeting our money to say, like, I'm going to have meal kits delivered instead of me doing these other things, right? So it becomes an allocation of the time or the money or the resources. Yeah. More time. Ooh, every time I scroll, I'm trying to scroll in the chat. Yeah, creativity. Karina, creativity. Yeah, yeah. So as we think about this today, we're going to do a little activity that helps us look at some of the specific places in our lives and maybe what could we do? Oh, Amanda, prioritizing wants versus needs. Yeah. And when do they like kind of blur, right? How do we know which one is clearly one or the other sometimes? Yeah. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. Grab a pen and paper. It can be anything. It can be a Post-it. It can be a whatever you've got in front of you. If you want to tattoo it, I mean, draw it on, get that inked later. You decide. Well, we're going to start by drawing a circle, draw a pie, and cut it into 8 pieces. Almost even pieces. Doesn't need to be perfect. But Karina, if this helps, like, absolutely flow your creativity. You get artsy with it, whatever you want. And now once you've got it split into those 8 pieces, I want you to label each piece of the outside with one of these. So like physical environment is 1 piece, fun and recreation is 1 piece. Doesn't matter where you put them, just label each of them with each of these areas on each piece. Okay, I'm seeing, I think almost everyone's face looking up who's here. So now our next step is you're going to go through each piece individually. And this is a little more advanced. You don't need to add all this. And we're going to rank or rate each piece. So the 1 in the middle means I'm not satisfied with that area of my life at all. To a 10, the outside line is actually, I'm really satisfied with that right now. And so you want to rank somewhere in between there in each individual slice. The thing I will say is sometimes people are like, "Ooh, my friends are a 10, but my family's a 2. Cool. Split the friends and family 1 in half, right? My significant other is awesome, but our romance sucks. Cool. Split that in half, right? If it's important to you. You just want to rank. If that's closest to the middle, not super satisfied, to the outside, actually things are going pretty good in that area. Once you've got them ranked or you've given each a rating, just take a minute. And the ones that are really stand out to you, if you're really satisfied with them, think about what have you intentionally done to create that and to make it that way? And on the ones that maybe aren't as high as you'd like them to be, what's happening in that area? Just make a little note, notice some things. So as you did this, and this is what we call a wheel of life activity in coach world, it's a way to just kind of examine and pull out some of those major areas of life, because often these are the things that maybe where we feel balance or less balance, where we notice that something's kind of maybe not happening the way we wanted, or like, gosh, actually I'm nailing it in that area. So as you looked at this, what did you notice? What came up for you? I'm a coach, y'all. I can be here all day. I've also got a son who's about to go through puberty. I'm good with awkward conversations. Ooh, Amanda, I'm way off balance. Raina, jump in, and then Amanda, I would love to hear more from you.
I'm pretty in balance, but I'm actually really low on the totem pole in terms of satisfaction.
So when you say tell me more, like dive into that. You said I'm in balance, but I'm low on
Basically
the.
all 2s and 3s. There's
Okay.
1 5. The health is 5, and it's because I've really taken that as a, calories. I've lost probably 23 pounds. Getting my health better.
Yeah.
But everything else is 1, 2s, and 3s.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Good noticing. Right? Good noticing.
Not good, but yeah.
I mean, it's well, and I think one of the things I want to say about this wheel is we coaches, when I'm using this tool, is that I don't actually expect all of the areas to be even and great, right? Like if you're in that space, like awesome. Again, teach us your ways, a wise Jedi master, because that's not typically where we are. And sometimes we can be really far out in some areas, and sometimes we're like, that area actually isn't important to me right now. I'm not worried about my satisfaction in that area because that's not where I'm focusing. So it's okay. I'm not thrilled that you're like, oh, I'm not kind of super satisfied in all of them, but it's okay if your wheel is like, so yeah. And Reina, look at what you were able to do with intentional effort and focus on your health. Well done. Let's not skip over that. That's huge. Amanda, you said I'm way off balance. Are you open to sharing a little? Or?
So I ignore health probably because my mother was a nurse and she didn't believe in doctors. So I really don't do anything medically.
Okay.
But like finances, I'm tight on only because I'm the ultimate budgeter, because I live with a retired husband who spends money like we're a 2-income household. So I'm kind of all over the budget. So that's great. And I'm happy with him. So he scores well. Congrats
Uh-huh.
to him. And he's got to focus on fun again, the retired thing. So he's got me hopping, doing lots of fun things this year. But like personal growth, I've been on a couple of paths that I've tried to do, and they just keep getting tracked. So
Okay.
so
Great
I'm lucky in
noticing.
a lot of ways, but then I'm like, yeah, I should get better at that.
Great. I heard should, like I said before, sometimes should is guilt or want. Is it that you want to, or is there something else that's behind the should?
I really feel like I need to, from a personal growth perspective. I work a
Okay.
non-paying job, which is rescue, and I devote a lot of time to that. That 35 hours that we're being caretakers, I would add another 35 hours on. So that's kind of what's causing me. I think I harbor everything instead of asking for help and having other people help me. So I take on too much that I shouldn't.
Okay. And it sounds like you take on so much that if you could get help with some of that, it would free you up for some other time or things that you want for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Nika, you said my numbers, is it Nika or Nika? But you said my numbers are higher than you expected in some areas.
Yeah, it's Nika. Yeah,
Nika.
like I was just kind of looking at well, first off, I always think about like what goes in a pie, and I didn't think about personal growth as much. So that was just like one, I was like, oh, I didn't think that that would be a part of it, but of course it is. But yeah, I was looking and I'm like, okay, my numbers are not like too off balance. Like health, I take good care of my health. I'm that person that goes like to the doctor every year to get their physical when it's like exactly like 12 months. I work
Mhm.
out 6 days a week. Like all my numbers are in line. Like I'm good with budgeting and my finances. Personal growth, I'm always looking to do something better. Like what else could I be doing? Like
Mhm.
how can I improve myself professionally and personally? Physical environment is good. My career is fine. I've been at CLA for 11 years. Family and friends, I have enough of those. The family part was that number. It's just like I don't know about some of my family members, but we
Yep.
all have them.
Yeah,
Another really
Leah just put it in the chat too. She said some slices are impacted by factors out of my control. Family is
yes,
often
that
one of them,
that one
right? Yeah.
with the family will be definitely out of my control. Significant
Yep.
other romance, that one's in line, and fun and recreation. Like if I decide next week I want to go skydiving, I'm going skydiving. So I always make sure I make time for my self and just do the things that make me happy.
Yeah, well done. Great self-awareness also. You were able to really clearly articulate in there.
Yes.
I go to the gym 6 days a week. If I want to
Mhm.
go skydiving and that's fun, that's
I'm
what I'm going to
going.
go do. So you
Mhm.
you know what you need and you've
Yes.
got a great attention to that. Well done.
And then
Again,
sometimes, like when you're looking at yourself, I'm just like, oh, I haven't done this in a while, and this is something I like doing. If I like reading a book, it's like, when was the last time I read a book? Let me look to see what book I want to read. So it's just like
yeah.
constantly just looking at this pie and just making sure everything is not just about work, because there is so much more to life than just working.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing, thank you so much for sharing, Nika. That was
You're
awesome.
welcome.
The other thing I think that was so cool about what you said is like there's a self-awareness of knowing I need something. Like that sounds fun. So it's paying attention long enough to go like, hey, what's there? And I often think about that with emotions. Like I was raised in a family where like if you were happy, awesome. And if you were anything else, do that somewhere else where it's like we don't have to deal with it. Right. Like it was like this is the one appropriate emotion. And as an adult, I've been able to reframe of like an emotion, whether it's my anxiety, whether it's like happiness, whether it's excitement, whether it's sadness about something, it tells me something's important. So I can notice that maybe one of these things is off balance because there's an emotion there and then go, hey, what is it trying to tell me about something that I'm going to choose to tune into? Hi, I'm
Exactly.
Latasha. Come on in, everyone. Welcome. Gonna just
good.
oh, there we go. Perfect. I was just gonna try to mute. Got it. Thank you. Awesome. Bukrina, you said I wish my numbers were higher. What are you noticing there?
Right.
You want to share, huh?
Yeah, it's just
things that are kind of out of my control right now. Looking for a job, just trying to get back on my feet. So it's just like, yeah, things are just really tight right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard when it's things that are out of our control too, right? Because those things that are out of our control still impact us.
Yeah.
And for many of the women my bet on this call is we're high achieving type A kick butt women. So we are used to things being under our control. We want
Exactly.
things like, right? We go and make it happen usually. So when we can't do the things that we normally could to make things happen, it's like all the more frustrating of
Very much so.
what's happening. Yeah. Yeah. 1000%. Yeah. So as we think about this, we kind of debrief this. Thank you all for sharing. But to think about for a second, what are you most proud of? What are you most proud of, and what did you intentionally do to create that in that area? Which area might have surprised you the most? Like, ooh, didn't see that, didn't think about that, or wow, didn't see that coming. Oops, sorry. And then as we go on, what would you most like to change? And this is where we're going to spend a little time. If you can pick one where you can really dig in and go, hey, if I could change something in this area, and I want to highlight what I think both Leah and Vikrina just said is like, try to pick something or some part of, if it's something that's totally out of your control, is there some small piece of it that is within your control? And if there's not, is there something else that you can pick that, okay, I would love to make a change in this area. And I want to talk about change for a second, because this is how I often do change, right? I teach this stuff, I coach on this stuff, and this is why I have my own coach to keep me honest. Because when I want to do change, what I often do is I walk into my house and I look around and I realize everything's a mess. And then I look at all my people and I'm like, we're going to clean this house right now. And they're all looking at me like, what the heck happened to mom? And why are we doing this right now? And so I am like on a tizzy, we're going to clean all the things. But does that actually change anything? No. 2 days later, it was clean temporarily, but 2 days later, we're back to what we were at. And so often when we make a change, we want to go what I call the race car method. This is like all the people, Nika knows these people who show up on January 1st at the gym and they're like, I'm doing this thing. And by like January 13th, Nika's like, thanks, y'all. It's good. I got my space back. Right. So we make these changes. We're like going to do this thing, and we do it in ways that are trying to be huge. We're trying to go from 1 to 10 or 0 to 60 on this change, as opposed to what are some other ways that we could do it that are actually more likely to lead to success. So one of the things I often think about is the difference between hot water and water that's going to make me macaroni and cheese is only 1 degree of change, right? Boiling water is only 1 degree different, but the outcome can be completely different. So this is a slide I often show when I talk about change. And this is from the book Atomic Habits. If you haven't ever read that book, if you're a book reader or you like listening to books, it's awesome. But what he talks about is it only takes 1 degree, 1% difference to change something. He talks about if a plane were to fly from New York, going from LA to New York. And if the pilot adjusts just 3.5 degrees, right? This tiny little amount that we think is nothing. That plane is actually going to land in Washington, D.C. rather than New York, right? So that tiny little bit can make such a huge difference. And that's similar. If we're doing 1% more challenging, right? I eat 1% worse each day, or I work out 1% less, or I spend my time 1% farther away from where I want to, that all adds up. And if we just make 1% better, that also changes it. So over a year, if we've got 1% improvement, it's actually 37%, over 37 times better at the end of that year if we just do 1%. So as we think about that, I want you to go back to that area that you were thinking, that thing that was like, ugh, I'd love to make a change here. And think about what number maybe you put it on. Maybe it was a 3. What would you be doing different? What behaviors would be doing different if you were simply at a 4 in satisfaction, right? If we didn't go from a 3 all the way to a 10 to completely satisfied, but I just moved up a little tiny bit. What might you be doing different? What would your day-to-day look like? So think for a second, what would that 1% change be that could improve some aspect of your life or some aspect of that integration that you might want? And I would love to hear what some of you come up with if you're willing to share. and what areas you're working on. If you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely this, feel free to pop that in the chat too. You might find somebody else is doing the same thing. So what are those 1% changes or those little things people are thinking about trying? Making a 1% change by trying to connect with others and building your business day by day. Yeah. Vikrina, what does that look like? When you say day by day, what would be like an example of something that you would be doing each day to help you build?
Well, this is actually one of the things. I found this organization last week, and I saw that there was this event. So I was like, let me just try, see if I could connect with other people that are in the laundry business. I'm trying to get into the laundry business. So this was my 1% change.
Okay, so now I'm like coaching. We always in coaching, we call it like a challenge or a dare, is like, hey, if anybody else here is willing to talk with Sabrina about it, like message her your information, like
I would love
private
that.
message her, like get in touch, right? Like reach out. How can y'all support each other in
Thank
this?
you. I
Yeah,
would love that.
absolutely. Yeah. And kudos to
I
you
can
for
reach out to you since we work for CLA to just give you more information and just give you like tools to help you network like in our association.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
yes. Oh, and Mary just put in the chat here for the same reason. Look at
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah, we can reach out. We have everyone's like contact information, so we can definitely like reach out to both of you guys.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
and Catherine, y'all.
And
Like
Catherine's on here
everybody's
too.
network and meet. Well done.
So the three of us all work at CLA.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Nika.
Nice.
You're welcome.
And Sabrina, also, like, kudos to you for being brave enough to go and find the thing and do the thing and come off mute and put yourself out there.
Thank you. I was scared. I'm not gonna lie.
You did it. Huge, right? These little
Yeah.
1% things. Look where you are now, just by getting here. Well done.
So is it 3% now?
I don't know. I mean,
Oh,
we
maybe.
can count it as 3. I think you get a lot of gold stars for today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Oh, Irene said making a change by hiring qualified employees. Ah, okay. Irene, are you willing to, what does qualified mean to you? She might be at her desk. Yeah. So thinking about when we think about qualified employees, when I'm working with my clients, it's often how would I know? How do I create an interview process that really demonstrates the qualifications in a way that's appropriate? Oh, employees willing to work. Irene, I'm just going to tell you,
Good luck.
you let us know your secret when you figure that out. You will find some. But yeah, how do you vet that in an interview process, right? What does that look like? How do you find out? I love interviews are such a blessing and a curse, right? And like I always think like people can talk a good game, but can they work? Yeah. What other changes are people thinking about? Rena, can I put you on the spot? You had said that you were like, oh, nope. She's like, nope. Okay, good. Good answer. You're like, no, I'm good. We don't need to talk anymore. I've done my part. I appreciate that.
No,
Thank you.
there's certain things I need to fix. But not
Yeah.
be.
All of us, right? That's all of us. Like we are all carrying stuff. Yeah. And what can you use from what you learned already on your health journey about how you've changed habits to replicate that success elsewhere? Right. So sometimes when we're thinking about change, and this is part of one of the things that Danielle had mentioned at the beginning, is sometimes we forget that we can learn as much from our past successes, oftentimes more. So oftentimes I'm saying, what went really well and how can I do that again? So if I did that with my health, if I knew that like I got better at being accountable to my health by hiring a trainer, again, money isn't always going to be possible, but is there someplace else that I need to be thinking about? Like who else can help hold me accountable? Where else can I have external accountability to do the thing that I might need to do if that's what helps keep me honest and doing the thing I want to do, right? What we often do instead is beat ourselves up and say like, I don't have enough discipline and it doesn't necessarily work. Leah, oh my gosh, you've got great ones in here, right? Less screen time, right? So what are the tools that can help you do that? Is it putting screen time limits on your own devices? That was something that I ended up doing. Right? right? Because I was like, oh, when I get that little thing at the end of the week on my iPhone that says you spent 4 hours and blah, and I'm like, a day. And I'm like, oh, what would I have done if I hadn't done that, right? So what is it? What are the other things that help? Regular sleep schedule. What are the things that help you do some of that? So one of the things that we also talk about, we already talked about this a little bit, is what would you be doing differently? What would others see? But how do you build a change into your day-to-day routines? When we're doing change, oftentimes we're more successful if we can link it to something else that we're already really good at doing. So, Leah, what would it look like if your gratitude is also while you're brushing your teeth every day? If you're like an awesome, good teeth brusher. Let's not talk about my 9 and 11-year-old upstairs and who's brushed theirs today. We won't go there. But, right? Yeah, if you're good at something, if you know something's there, if it's, you always know you have a drive at a certain time. Is it an alarm on your phone that says, hey, this is that moment? So what are the other things that you can build in so that it just becomes naturally part of your day?
Alarms work really well.
Who
So,
just
like,
said that?
for
Raina?
So for like
Yeah.
regular sleep schedule, Leah, that's something I put at 10 o'clock, even though I never go to bed at 10 o'clock, but it's a reminder, get your butt in bed.
Yeah.
Whether you do
That's
it
a
or
good
not,
idea.
that's, that's your own discipline. But at least it's
Little,
there, and it's like, and then it's a thought, right? And once it's a
right.
thought, it's like, oh, everything you do is starting to close things up. That
I
helps.
also like low tech, like sticky notes, like little reminders and affirmations, and just kind of scattering it around in my life in my car to kind of remind me.
And it's funny, I do
Beautiful.
all of these things for my kids.
Right.
The 1% better, the affirmation post-its, all of those things. It's wild.
Yes.
You do them for other people, but you don't do them for yourself.
I
Yeah.
think telling someone else kind of makes it accountable.
Danielle, did you read my last bullet point?
No.
The check is in the mail. Goodness. Yeah. Who can collaborate with you? I often in coach world, I call them your accountability buddy. Who's the person who's like, did you do the thing? You want to do that thing? Great. Like, did you do it? And not somebody who's going to shame you. We're not talking about someone who's going to be like, oh, you didn't do this. Somebody who's like, yeah, you got this. Somebody's going to encourage and champion you on it. Yeah.
They really do help. Having someone, it definitely helps you.
Yeah. If anybody's on this that they're like, I need to make a change and I need a buddy, I want to make a change in this area and I need a buddy, you can put that ask in the chat. There might be someone else on here who's willing to help you do that, right? Whether that's by text, whether that's by email next week. Hey, check in with me next week. See how things are going. Yeah. The other thing I'll say about alarms, Rennie, you mentioned this, and I use this with my clients who say that they work too much, is they have an alarm that goes off. One of them, her alarm goes off at 4:45 every day. Her end time is supposed to be 5. And at 4:45, she looks at all of the tasks and says, what actually has to be done yet today, if there's a deadline, and what are the 5 most important things I can start my day with tomorrow? Or 3 most important things, and makes her post-it of this is where I start. Right. So, and oftentimes that combats that sense of urgency, right? That everything's an emergency and I have to get it all done right now. Often isn't, but we will act like it is sometimes. So what is that most important thing? Where am I going to start? The other thing around that I will add that I do with clients a lot is if you think about what tasks are part of your everyday routine, which ones require the most mental energy, and what times in the day do you feel like you have the energy to do that? How can you then set your schedule up so you do those tasks during that time, and you do the tasks that don't require a lot of mental energy toward the end of the day or toward a time of day when, that like 1 to 2 o'clock post lunch hour, right? So how is it that we order our day that might give us better integration or make us more efficient, use our time better? My dad always said, work smarter, not harder, right? So how do we kind of move things around? So these are often questions that I work with my clients with when we're going to do changes. What's that 1% look like? If you made this 1% now, it's August, September, October, November, December, January, February. By Valentine's Day, what could be different in your world? What could things look like? So if you need a buddy, feel free to put it in the chat or Message somebody else on here if you're like, hey, I want to see if somebody else can help and help support me. And what do you want that accountability or support to look like? Sometimes we have to tell people, right? How many of you have went home to your significant other and you just wanted to vent about your day, and then they jump into trying to fix it, and you're like, no, 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 that's not what I need. Didn't need that. Just want to talk about it, right? Who's struggling? Does anyone have a change that they're like, ooh, this just feels impossible. I'm not sure if I can do this thing, or I'm not sure how. Everybody's feeling good. Okay, so we've got hiring qualified employees. We've got getting people connected, paying someone else to clean. We've got people getting in touch with one another, networking, less screen time. The other thing I will encourage is pick one small thing to make a change at a time, right? So Leah, you had all these amazing things, and pick one or two small things. We can't change everything all at once and usually have it be sustainable, but what are the small things there that could help? So here's the challenge that I want to issue to you is try making that one small change. I'm going to be with you again next month. I would love to hear how it went. If you already know that there are certain barriers that get in your way when you're trying to make a change, you already know what they are. How could we work around it? Right? How can we find a way to get around that thing or to plan for it? One of the other things I often have clients do, and this is especially when they're thinking about like, I don't know what I want to do, is how do you want your job or your work, your life to feel? And then we work backwards from that. What are the things that feel like that in your life? What are the things if you like job in your work potentially that I was working with a client yesterday and she said, sometimes I like to be with people and sometimes my introvert self doesn't. Okay, what kind of tasks at work allow you to just be your introverted self without interruption? What kinds of tasks working with people do you actually enjoy? How do we create more of that? One of the things about work is that if you can think of what part of your work you love the most, if you get to spend just 20% of your time on that, it's a huge protective factor for burnout. So you only need to, not only, I would love if you got to spend all of your time on that, but if you have under 20% of your time on the part of your job that you love or enjoy the most, you're more likely to burn out. So how can you get back over that 20%? And that's really that last part. How do you put more of those things that you love back in your day? What can you create? Can some of the stuff that you have be delegated? One of the things that often happens with women, because we're really good and we can multitask, is sometimes we're picking up the slack for others. We're doing the things that others aren't. So how can we change that? How can we hold people accountable? Or how can we put somebody else who's actually really good at that to do some of those other things? The other thing that is available to you with this is if you click on this schedule a free coaching session, you can schedule a session with me at any point between now and the next session, or even after that, to say, hey, here's this thing I'm trying to make a change on. I'm running into, it's not happening the way I want to. Here's this other thing I'm super not satisfied with in my business. What can I do around that? And I'll help.
What the hell?
Oh, somebody wants coaching. Somebody's excited. I don't know who that is, but I'm going to take that as a statement of like, I am so excited and I am signing up right now. That's how I'm going to read that. Yeah, but you can sign up for coaching, and coaching really is what we just did, right? How do I ask you questions that get you thinking about things and help you dive into it and come up with solutions and really help you solve it? And sometimes I'm the person who holds people accountable. My coaches hold me accountable. That's what I need. They're the people who are like, did you do the thing? And I didn't. Okay, let's talk about that, right? So what questions, where are the struggles? Or on the flip side, what are you most excited about between now and the next time we're together next month?
Well, I think the way you put it is a 1% change seems doable. I think that's why when you ask what, seems impossible, I mean, I think most people can make a 1% change in any area. That seems pretty incremental.
Sometimes I'm the only challenge I'll give to myself in that theory is if you ask me to make a 1% change about how I feel about my mother-in-law, it's going to be hard. I'm just going to own that. Right. But sometimes it is. It's that 1% shift. Like, can I be 1% like more kind? Okay, that's doable. Right. Or can I see her intentions 1% differently? Right. Sometimes it's that shift in perspective. So yeah, 1%. If I open up the fridge and I'm going to be 1% healthier. Okay, cool. I'll add a carrot. Right. Those little things. They all do add up. 1%. I park farther back at the grocery store, so I have to walk just a little bit farther and get my steps. So like I said, I'll be back with you next month. You can schedule a coaching session. You can also get in touch with me, in any of these ways. But if you get stuck, if you're trying that change and it's not happening, reach out. Like, let's see what we can do to help you really get that and sustain it, because that 1%, again, 37 times better by the end of a year, if you can do that. So I'll be here for a little bit if you've got questions. Danielle, what is the next time? I have it here on one of my sheets. When's the next time we're together?
I have actually a couple slides of upcoming events and it's in there,
Here,
but before
let
I
me-
transition, give people a couple minutes to grab your info. And does anybody have questions for Jill before I close up with some upcoming events?
No, but thank you. This was
Yeah.
it was really nice to do, just to take a time and think about how can we make ourselves better and more sane, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And to focus on yourself, right? This time is for you. If there's anything in particular around this topic that you really hope we cover next month, like if you could wave your magic wand and be like, solve this for me, feel free to drop that in the chat too, because I can try to customize some material around that or get in touch if it's helpful. So thank you again, Danielle.
Sure. Thank you. This was great. So yes, we all have an opportunity to spend another session with Jill focusing on ourselves, and that is going to be September 12th. So same time, Zoom, everything. So yeah, hopefully if you haven't signed up, you can go to our events calendar and sign up for that. Just a few other CLA events coming up. So we do these are more face-to-face local meetings. These are the locations we have left for 2024. Want to point out we're doing a couple new locations this year that we haven't done in at least in a while. We're doing one in Philadelphia on September 5th. So if you're anywhere near there, and we're doing a brand new one in Denver in October. So again, a couple new locations to try to bring people together in all areas of the country. And then there we go. Our next sort of big national event coming up is our wash, dry, fold workshop. So again, these are the events that are more focused on laundromat operations. This one specifically wash, dry, fold, pickup and delivery, and commercial laundry. It's in Nashville, September 18th through the 20th. Registration is open now. We started this in 2022. We've grown each year, so we anticipate somewhere around 3, maybe up to 400 people. So it starts with a reception and then 2 days of sessions, education sessions where we have experts in this area kind of share their knowledge. We do have exhibits, so you can learn about all the products and services. So great event. This link right here, if you go there, you can learn more. The agenda is posted there, registration. There is a room block for the hotel. That deadline is September 4th. Last year, we sold out of registration and the hotel room block. So if you're considering it, I would suggest you act fairly quickly. All right, so with that, brings us to the end. Thank you so much, Jill. I enjoyed this a lot. I think I appreciate everybody's participation in this. I think this was a really good session. Can't wait to do it again in September, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.